The first time it happened, it was 6:03 a.m. sharp. A soft thud beneath the bedroom window. Lily Dawson, a quiet 9-year-old with chestnut curls and a habit of talking to butterflies, blinked her sleepy eyes open. Her pink curtain billowed slightly with the breeze. She didn't move at first. Her dad, Henry, had taught her to listen before reacting. "The world tells you more in silence than noise," he'd say in his warm, gravelly voice. She heard it again. A faint scratch, a shuffle, then silence. Curiosity tugged her from her bed. She patted over in her woolly socks and pushed the curtain aside. There it was, a shoe. A single, muddy, adult-sized sneaker sat oddly upright just beneath her window. Not hers, not her dad's, not her neighbor's. It looked like it had been in a creek or dug out of an old closet. She tilted her head. Just then, something shifted in the bushes, a blur of tan and black. A dog? The moment she squinted, it vanished behind the maple tree. "Dad?" she called down the hall. But Henry Dawson was already downstairs, shoveling coffee into a filter, his thoughts still clouded with paperwork and the ghosts of his wife's absence. He didn't come. So Lily waited. That morning passed, then another, and then it happened again. This time it was a battered loafer, slightly chewed at the heel, but laid with care, as if someone had gently set it down, not dropped or tossed. And the next day, a boot, then a slipper, each item appearing beneath her window. Just before sunrise, always a different kind, always alone, and always followed by a glimpse. Just a glimpse of him, a German shepherd, stray, thin but not sickly, with intelligent amber eyes. Lily started leaving small scraps of toast on the windowsill, then bits of ham rolled up in paper towels. Each time the dog would come, pick up the food, tail wagging low and grateful, and leave a new shoe in return. And with each passing day, her collection of mismatched, dirt-covered shoes grew. Her father, however, hadn't noticed, not until day 7. Henry Dawson hadn't truly smiled in 3 years. Not since his wife, Claire, passed in her sleep. It had been quiet. Sudden. She had gone to bed, after setting Lily's school uniform on the radiator like always, kissed Henry's temple, and never woken up. Since then, Henry had gone through the motions, school runs, cooking dinners, folding laundry with trembling hands. But his world had shrunk, grown quieter, grown colder. He noticed Lily's shoes were never where he left them anymore. Thought maybe she was playing dress-up, or going through a collector phase. She was always odd like that, sweetly peculiar. But on the 7th morning, he finally noticed. He was mowing the back garden when he saw it. An entire uneven pile under Lily's window. Not her shoes. Not any he recognized. They were damp, crusted with dried mud and leaves, some nearly rotted through. Men's boots, women's slippers, even a child's crock. Once pink, now gray. He crouched down, his brow furrowing. One had moss growing from its tongue. That night he waited up. He sat by the kitchen window with the lights off, sipping lukewarm coffee as the clock inched toward dawn. Lily was still asleep. The neighborhood was wrapped in that pale, fragile quiet that only exists between 3 and 6 a.m., the kind of silence you can almost hear. At 5:59, he heard it, a soft pad, pad, pad across dead leaves. He slowly pushed the screen open and stepped onto the porch, heart ticking like a drum. And then he saw him, the dog, a German shepherd, tan and black. Fur matted, one ear flopped down. The animal stepped out of the shadows, like something from a dream. Not aggressive, not afraid, calm, focused. Something in his eyes was human. He carried something gently in his mouth, an old ballet flat with a torn bow. He padded quietly to Lily's window and set the shoe down with eerie care, like he was laying flowers on a grave. Henry was stunned. The dog looked up at the window once, then turned to leave. Henry stood, still holding his coffee mug, then did something that surprised even himself. He followed. The German shepherd moved through the pre-dawn light, like a shadow on a mission. Henry stepped carefully, keeping a few paces behind. Heart pounding. The air was damp with dew, and the grass clung to his shoes as he crossed the yard. Past the fence, into the woods. The dog didn't look back, but he didn't run either. It was as if he knew Henry was there, as if he wanted him to follow. They crossed the edge of the neighbor's pasture, then curved around the old oak trees that lined the abandoned railway path. Henry hadn't walked this trail in years, not since Lily was small, and Claire had packed thermoses of cocoa for weekend strolls. Now the woods felt different. The dog paused once to sniff a patch of earth, then continued, always with purpose, like he was late for something. Then Henry saw it, a clearing tucked deep behind the woods. Covered by a curtain of hanging branches was a quiet open space, like a forgotten room in the forest. And in that space, spread out like the evidence of a crime or a shrine, were shoes. Dozens of them, old, torn, caked in dirt, arranged in a rough circle around a hollow in the earth. At the center, a large piece of plywood covered a sunken hole. From beneath came the faintest sound, a whimper. The dog stepped onto the plywood and pawed it gently. Henry dropped to his knees, pulled the board away, and gasped. Beneath it, nestled in a dry hole like a burrow, was a second dog, much smaller, a golden retriever mix. Ribs showing, leg twisted unnaturally. Trapped, the shepherd licked her nose through the gap. She wagged weakly. The shoes weren't trophies. They were currency. The shepherd had been trading them for help. Henry's breath caught in his throat. The golden retriever, no more than a year old, trembled with every tiny breath. Her eyes, wide and glassy, flicked up at him, but her body remained still. She was too weak to move, likely dehydrated, starving. And her back leg. He turned to the shepherd. "You did all this." The dog sat, ears perked, tail tapping lightly on the leaves. He let out a soft, urgent bark. Henry removed his jacket and gently wrapped the smaller dog. Her bones felt like twigs beneath her fur. As he cradled her in his arms, the shepherd stood and began walking again. Slower this time. Back home, Henry followed. When they emerged from the woods, the first light of morning had begun to wash the sky. Lily's window glowed soft pink. The front door swung open as she ran barefoot onto the porch. "Dad?" She saw the shepherd, then the bundle in his arms, and she understood. Together, they rushed the injured dog to the local vet. No chip, no collar, just bruises, a fracture, and a fighting spirit. Dr. Maddox, a wiry man with thick glasses and a calming presence, glanced between Henry and the shepherd. "This dog brought you to her?" Henry nodded. "Every shoe he left, it led me here." Maddox looked down at the shepherd. "Remarkable, he saved her life." Henry turned to Lily. "He saved two." The next days were a blur of bandages and broth. The golden retriever, now named Penny, slept curled in a warm blanket. The shepherd never left her side. And the shoes, they stopped appearing because he had what he came for. Someone who listened, someone who followed. But the mystery was far from over. One afternoon, while Penny rested in her blanket cocoon and the shepherd dozed with his head on her hip, Lily sat flipping through one of her mom's old photo albums. She did this often, quietly, as if Claire might walk through the door, if only she looked long enough. But that day, something stopped her. "Dad," she called, "come here." Henry dried his hands on a dish towel and joined her at the coffee table. She pointed to a photo. In it, a young Claire stood smiling beside an older man with snow-white hair. At their feet was a familiar shape, ears high, coat golden tan with a dark saddle. It was him, the shepherd. Henry stared. "No, that's not possible." The man in the photo was Claire's father, Lily's grandfather, Samuel. He had passed away over 10 years ago, and the dog, if it was the same one, should have been gone too. But Henry remembered now. His name was Brutus. "Your grandfather's dog. He disappeared after Sam's accident." Lily traced the edges of the photo. "But it's him, isn't it?" Henry said nothing. But in his heart, something unspoken cracked open. A feeling like recognition buried under grief. That night, Brutus, if that was really his name, lay his head on Henry's foot and sighed, and Henry didn't move. Penny's leg healed slowly, but her spirit returned quicker than expected. She became Lily's shadow, following her from room to room, nuzzling into her side during story time. Brutus, meanwhile, stood guard, not just over Penny, but the whole house. He would sit by the back door for hours, eyes fixed on the woods, as if waiting for someone. One night, as Henry took out the trash, he found Brutus standing in the yard, staring at the stars, and then he barked. Once, sharp, loud, not afraid, not warning, calling. Henry stood beside him, feeling the cold seep into his skin. Then he heard it, a rustle, a footstep. A man emerged from the shadows, thin, with a gray beard, wearing layers of clothes that didn't match, a duffel bag slung over one shoulder. He looked startled when he saw Henry. I didn't mean to trespass, he said. Brutus didn't growl. He walked right up to the man and sat. The stranger knelt. You found her, didn't you? He whispered. Henry squinted. You know the dogs? The man nodded. I lost them months ago. Penny ran into the woods during a storm. Brutus went after her. I searched everywhere, but his voice cracked. Henry opened the door. Come inside. His name was Walter, a former mechanic turned drifter. After a string of bad luck, widowed, evicted, forgotten by family, he had found Brutus abandoned behind a rest stop years ago. Penny came later, limping from a broken paw, the two forming a ragtag family. Walter had built a life on the road, until the storm, until he lost everything. When Lily brought him tea and a plate of toast, he teared up. You don't know what this means. Henry looked at his daughter, at the dogs, at the pile of shoes that still sat beneath the window like offerings. I think I do, he said. They made a plan. Walter would stay in the guest room for a few weeks, help around the house, help fix the old shed. Henry gave him his late wife's gardening gloves and a second chance. Brutus never left his side. Penny claimed Lily's bed, and the shoes, they stayed. Henry washed them, placed them in a wooden box with a note. For anyone who walks a long road, you're not alone. Word got out. A girl, a stray dog, a trail of shoes, a rescued pup, a reunited friend. People came to visit, to bring more shoes. Some brought their own dogs. Some brought stories. One woman left a pair of tap shoes and a note for the dog who knows how to dance with grief. The local paper ran a story. The headline read, Stray Shepherd leads man to lost dog and changes a family forever. Henry read it aloud at dinner. Lily beamed. Walter wept. And Brutus? He just looked up, then went back to watching the woods. The seasons turned. Leaves fell. Snow whispered against the windows. Brutus began to slow. He still rose at dawn, still padded to Lily's window, but there were no more shoes. One morning, Lily woke to find him lying by the back door, nose pressed to the glass. His tail thumped once when he saw her, then stilled. They buried him beneath the maple tree, in the clearing where the shoes once lay. Henry placed a single ballet flat beside the stone. Lily tied a ribbon around it. Walter carved a plaque. He brought us home. Years passed. Lily grew. Penny aged. Walter never left. And one day, Lily found an old shoebox in the attic. Inside it, at the very bottom, was a note in her mother's handwriting. If ever you feel lost, follow the one who brings the forgotten things. He'll lead you back. Henry sat down hard on the floor. It was dated 2 weeks before Claire's passing. Some things aren't just coincidence. Some dogs aren't just strays. And some shoes aren't just shoes. They're messages. And Brutus, he delivered everyone.